everybody, welcome back to the channel. How are we all doing? It's another absolutely fantastic guest tonight. I'm really excited about this one. Followed his career for such a long time. Top player in my opinion, and really excited. Like I say, he's current St Johnstone player. He's played for Hibs and St Mirren, Barnsley. Stevie Mallan, how you doing, Stevie boy?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm brilliant, mate. Honestly, it's a real pleasure to have you on, man. Like I say, we are big fans of yourself, your career, man. So thank you very much, pal.
No, not a pleasure to come
on. Usually we start, mate, with the person's career, not that right? But I think it's a wee bit different today because Scotland are just after, the back of a fantastic result, mate. We're now in the World Cup. I know that you're close to a few. I know that you're close to a few of the guys in the squad and that, mate. How was it? Did you do anything special for the game?
To be fair, I got offered tickets and stuff, but I've kind of stopped going to football games. I find that a pain in the backside trying to get home for them. But that's definitely one I regret not going to. Especially the magnitude of the game and everything that happened and the last minute goals and stuff like that. But I was doing knee slides in the living room last night, man. It was phenomenal. Me and the missus were watching it last night, and it was just everything that happened. Like, it's just the same old Scotland way. It just made it hard for ourselves, and then you get the last minute goal, and then obviously Kenny finishes at the end. It was it's fairy tale stuff, that, but like, Scotland's at a World Cup, so it's unbelievable you actually get there.
Big time, man. That's why we love football games like that, isn't it, man? As you say, it had everything. Penalties, freaking last minute goals. Whatever that goal for McTominay, but man.
I know, that's phenomenal. Like they said, there's always like something's bound to happen in a game. Like, give away a penalty, there's a red card, and then obviously there's unbelievable goals. Like, we done a thing today with St Johnstone. See, when you walk onto the pitch and it's like rank the goals, 1, 2, and 3 for last night. I think I went McTominay, McLean, and then Tierney. That was my 3 of how it went in terms of best goals. Because like Kenny, you see, Kenny scores an unbelievable goal for the halfway line, but then McTominay does that in the first 2 minutes. It's like, and that's probably that. It was phenomenal. The goals were amazing.
I'd probably rank that the same. Would you do?
No, did they put Shanklin's in there? No.
And Shanks is one of my pals, and I gave him a shout out on the camera. I was like, somebody has to say Shanks here, so I went 1, 2, 3, 4. But Shanks is obviously he nicks it to go 2-1, didn't he? So he thinks he's won the game for everybody.
Aye.
And then Scotland go get a goal away after 3-4 minutes. But Shanks needs a shout out, man.
It's classic him as well, but at the right place, right time, sticks that away, man. That's what you're after.
That's why he's there. That's why he should be playing more often. He'll get a goal. There's goals in him. Just need to play him.
Definitely. What do you think your chances are next year? They're doing well anyway.
What with Scotland? What do you mean? Sorry.
With Scotland in the World Cup.
I think it just don't. It's the same as it. I think it depends on the draw. You want to say aye, so you could end up with a big hitter. You could end up with like a Brazil or Argentina, but then you could get somebody like that mob that's just qualified, like Caracao or something.
Dick Advocate's their manager.
Aye, do you know what I mean? So like you could end up with MD. It's like you just don't want the same as the Euros the last time. You want to have a right go. You don't want to be conservative. I'm hoping that you kind of seen a glimpse of that with Stevie Clark when he put on the 2 strikers. I think that's one of the, especially at 60 minutes on last night, you could kind of smell that they went a man down. So rather than just putting one more striker on like usual, like swap Dykes with Adams, he's went with Shankland as well. So you're just hoping that's a wee glimpse of, maybe there's a bit of regret for the last Euros, maybe holding off a wee bit rather than just going for it. Because you're there, you may as well go for it. So I'm hoping that that's going to be the case.
That's a very, very good point, man. I didn't even think of that because, as you say, the 2 strikers came on, but I think it was either Faddy or Stephen Thompson had said in commentary that they were already coming on before they get the man sent off as well. So that's a positive thing, isn't it?
He said that. I sat and listened to all the interviews after the game because you're just in that much of a high. And Steve, I think Neil McCann actually asked him that. He asked him, were you always going to put the 2 strikers on at 60 minutes? He said, yeah, that was always going to be the case. So that's why I think it's positive. I would like to see more of that in the World Cup finals as well. Because strikers win you games. They get you the goals in that as well, and especially when you're struggling for a result and things. So, we're there. So let's just have a right go.
Yeah. Brilliant, mate. Honestly, buzzing, man. The whole country's buzzing. But like I say, mate, we're going to start with your career. You're born in Glasgow. What was your earliest memories of playing football?
Earliest mate. So I was born in Glasgow, but I grew up in Paisley. So I'm from Paisley. I signed with St Mirren when I was 4 years old. Obviously don't remember signing at that age, but basically, see when you used to have your summer camps at like the pits, at, like the five-a-side places. St Mirren used to always do summer camps, so I went there when I was 4, and get picked up. So I went to the under sixes at that age, and then yeah, I came all the way through St Mirren until I made it the first team. So all my early memories were all youth team days at St Mirren, all the different age groups, all the different boys that I played with throughout those age groups as well. The amount of boys that I've obviously seen going from the under sixes all the way to the first team, and then obviously play like the off chance playing with the school football team and all that stuff as well. Like a big thing with St Mirren was you weren't allowed to play with the school team, but everybody still did it. They wanted, just in case you get an injury, they didn't want you playing with the school team, but we all still done it. So that was fond memories as well, playing with, because that was the one chance you get to play with your mates. Because when you're at St Mirren, you get to a pro youth level, everything's very serious. Because you've got a right good chance of making it. So going back and playing with the school and stuff like that was just to have a laugh and get to enjoy playing with your pals as well. But I've got so many memories coming through St Mirren and playing about Paisley, playing football as much as I could in that as well.
Was there any coaches or anything back then, mate, that kind of inspired you at that age?
The big one for me through St Mirren was always Davy Longwell. He's very well known, and like especially this side at like Paisley and things like that. He's kicked on and done unbelievably well in his career. He was the head of youth at the time at St Mirren, and he was the head of youth all the way through. And Davy ended up going to done the youth system at Orlando. Went to did he go into Miami? He went to 2 clubs in America, and then he's come back. It was with Burnley and that as well. He's the one guy always seen something in me. Obviously, with anybody's youth careers and stuff, you've got a lot of adversities and stuff like that, and I could have potentially got released. And he kept me on because of how long I was there. Basically, I was small, I wasn't really playing as much, and everybody around me was all growing up and being men, and I was still a wee guy. So he gave me a second chance and held me back a year, which helped me massively because then he started to catch up on the kind of puberty side of things with other boys, and it kicked me on. So David gave me a lot of kind of chances and second chances, and if it wasn't for him and the whole involvement with St Mirren Football Club and how good the youth system was, then I probably wouldn't be a player. But me being local, living around the corner, a lot of good coaches came through St Mirren and a lot of good players in that as well. So you had a lot of people around me to learn from.
And were you always a midfielder, or is that something you grew into?
I always a centre mid. Always kind of played in this a centre mid role or the number 10 role. It's just one thing I never changed in my career. Sometimes I get stuck in the right mid and things like that, but through St Mirren, through my learning and things like that, it was all based on being midfielder. The odd chance get put up front and things, but through every age group, there's always been centre mid.
You always scored screamers?
See, that's what see, because when I was younger and I was small, I couldn't. I wasn't fast. I wasn't strong. So one thing I was good at was kicking a ball. That's like when I was a wee guy, like 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old. My dad had me using a size 5. Do you know what I mean? So I was always using like one of the bigger balls and getting used to striking the ball. That's one thing I've always obviously been known for. It was just shooting when you had the opportunity. And I think anybody that was in my youth teams at the time and I've met growing up and things always said, "Oh, remember this goal you scored in this goal?" It's just because I took the chance. Like it's the same. It's the old saying: if you don't shoot, you don't score. It's just that I might shoot for further out than other boys because I feel like I know I've got it in the locker, but it all comes from what you do as a kid. Like I would go to the park with a bag of balls and just shoot, hit free kicks, shoot for distance, all that kind of stuff. Whereas I probably should have been working in other parts of my game and I might have got to a better level, but I just like shooting. I just like shooting for midfield. I idolised like Gerrard, Scholes, Lampards and what they could do in football. So I used to just go to the park and think I was them. And that's just one thing I always done in my career. And thankfully it's helped me in moments.
Is that still something you do now, mate? It's just practice for shooting and stuff?
It's the same as any club. You always have like boys after training. Once the actual full training's done, you'll stay out and do shooting with the goalies. Always the youth team goalies because they're always the ones that get told to stay out and do shooting. So there is always a group of boys that will stay out, hit free kicks, hit do shooting drills and things like that up until the manager tells you to get off the pitch. Like, the manager has a set time on his watch where you have to be off the pitch because it doesn't want you doing too much. So even to this day, there's been a lot of boys out there shooting. Even the centre backs and all that get involved in things as well. And you do all your competitions now because everybody's got fine money in football clubs. So you always do it for like a fiver, or our clubs get a wheel that you need to spin. So it's a £5 spin in the wheel. So whoever loses the shooting drills needs to spin the wheel, and it all goes to your kitty for your team dues and all that stuff. So, look, even when you're 29, even when you're 5, 6, 7, you still practice.
Since we're talking about this, what's been your favourite goal you've scored?
I've been asked this. I've always chopped and changed. I probably the two that I've got in my head, like it's just the fact that my first ever goal was that. I'm saying it was that good. It was just it got that much publicity at the time. My first goal for St Mirren was I ended up getting goal of the season from it. What do you call it? Obviously, I've done the dribble for the halfway line through. I was like maybe my 5th or 6th game as a professional. So that feeling, I've probably never topped that feeling before in my life. But then my last ever goal for St Mirren, but just before I left and went to Barnsley, because moving away from St Mirren was always a massive thing for me because it was the next step in my career. And I ended up scoring a hat-trick on my last home game for St Mirren. And the last goal for that, I kind of curled it for like 30, 35 yards in the top corner, and that was to seal the hat-trick. And that was a surreal moment as well because I knew I was leaving at the end of the season. So those two goals for St Mirren, I've probably never been able to. That feeling, I've scored good goals in my career, don't get me wrong, but that when you know you've scored a good goal, or that kind of fulfillment you get when you score, that will never be topped with 2 goals. But I would say
See that Dundee, one at Dundee though. Like, obviously beat a good few players in that as well. But what I love most about that goal is just the composure at the end, just to stick that away in the corner like that, man. That's no.
See, I was looking for Big Callum Ball. Everybody's asked me that quite a lot. I opened up trying to find Big Bolly, but he was kind of sitting edge of the box. I just thought, you need to shoot. Why, you've done all that, you need to shoot. And the publicity, see, after that goal, the publicity I got was mental. I was getting stuff on Twitter like, oh, Barca's coming to watch you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm pretty sure after the next 10 minutes of the next game, they've left. Because I didn't go to Barca, I went to Barnsley. But it's just because of the goal. The best bit about it for me was generally, way back then, usually probably the same. Saturday mornings was Soccer AM, and I loved the showboat and I loved like the goals for the weekend. So I got my own wee segment on Soccer AM. So that was generally the best part about that goal. Was the next Saturday, I'm like, I better be on this showboat, and I finally made it on it. So
that's amazing, man. You made your debut for St Mirren in 2014 away to Hamilton Accy, is that right?
Aye.
What's your memories of that day?
My memories generally is just Tony Andreu, the football player for Hamilton. It was my first game, obviously, and we get beat 3-0. Me and Big Jack Baird ended up meeting who I'm actually playing with now. We made our debut on the same day, and the day before, I think we'd maybe trained with the first team in the morning, but we've not played of that yet. So then in the afternoon, because we had played a youth team game on the Tuesday night. So in the Friday afternoon, obviously we don't know we're in the squad. We're doing video analysis for the youth team game, and Tommy Craig walks in, who was a gaffer at the time, and was like, "Oh, Jack Baird and Stevie Mallan come out." So we're like, oh, "Fuck!" Like, we've not done our duties because we were in the same duty group. So we're like, we've not done the goals or the balls, or we've left something lying at our arse or something. And then so we left, and then he pulled us in his office. He's like, "Do you think you could start tomorrow?" And we're like, "What?" He's like, "I think you could start." We're like, you need to say aye. We're like, aye. He's like, "Well, you're starting centre mid and you're starting centre half." And we're like, "What?" And then just left. And we're like, "What's going on?" And then obviously next game you play, you get beat, but it was a surreal moment. But Tony Andreu tore me apart. And then at the end of that season, he gets a move to Norwich for £1 million or £2 million or something like that. But that is one of my memories for that game, is trying to chase him about, and he was phenomenal. So, what do you call it? I think Neil, I don't know if he was a gaffer or he might have actually been still playing, because I do remember playing against him. But he took him obviously to Norwich and that as well, and he kicked on and had a good career, and then eventually coming back. But fond memories of making my debut, but bad memories of playing against him.
What about the players who were playing alongside at that point, mate? Obviously, guys like John McGinn that came along, and Kerry McLaren, unreal.
Like But obviously, it's the same as in the moment, you don't realise how good these players are or the careers that everybody's going to have. Like, obviously, yeah, I had the experience with like Stevie Thompson and things like that there. Jim Goodwin, who was playing, Gary Teal, who was playing. But then you had the young ones coming through who was like, Kenny at that point was like a first team experienced player, and John was just kind of coming through as well and doing really well. But the team that we had, when you look at the paper, is incredible. How we like Kenny left in the January. He was at that point in his St Mirren career, he needed out. He was doing really well. He was in a team that wasn't doing so great, and he was just a level above St Mirren at that point. So that's everyone always asks me, and at St Mirren, was John always the best one? I'm like, John's had the better career now. John is phenomenal now. But in that moment at St Mirren, I'd say 90% of players would say Kenny was who was the better one at the time. You're thinking Kenny's going to go and kick on, and then Kenny still has an amazing career as well. But to be looking back, to be able to say that you've played with those two players is brilliant. Brilliant for my career as well. John's obviously always I was obviously a lot closer with John in that as well. John was a bit younger, but the what they've kicked on and done is phenomenal.
It must have been a real dream come true to actually get in that St Mirren team though, mate, and play so many games, and I've especially been there for such a young age.
Aye, see when you've went through literally every single age group, it just makes it that bit sweeter. Do you know what I mean? Like, only maybe 2 or 3 boys for my age group are still actually probably playing football just now, but I'm one of the ones that has come all the way through. There's a few players that I think maybe has done it from a very early age, like Ethan Errington and Kyle McGuinness and things, but because I was there at 4 years old and made it all the way through the first team, it just made it that much sweeter. Do you know what I mean? Like, especially like even on like the day I scored my first goal, my debut, and then my first goal, and see just seeing having like your mum and dad and that there who literally from 4 years old took you to training, took you to like Fergusley Park, took you to all the high schools that we trained at first before St Mirren Training Centre was actually a thing, and then eventually obviously when at Ralston you end up moving there when you're in the pro youth system and going all the way through, then making yourself full time and stuff like that. Like, it is a long process, and not many boys actually make it. So the fact that I've managed to get all the way through was phenomenal. It isn't until you get a bit older and you realise how hard it actually is for boys to make it through youth systems. And I think it has got a lot harder now because I don't think many teams are using their youth systems. It's just that we were at a point which was, it worked for me that St Mirren never had a big squad. We had quite a few injuries, and we had to use the youth. Do you know what I mean? So a big thing in football was luck, and then you obviously need a manager who will use the youth team. My luck was to get my chance. We had a lot of injuries, and I had to play because I was like the next centre mid in the pecking order, and I was in the youth team. And thankfully, I'd done well enough to be able to stick in. If boys weren't injured or you had a manager that didn't really want to use the youth team, would you have that chance? I can imagine the amount of players that's been in that moment and not kicked on at football because I've not had the right people around them or at the right team. Football is a lot to do with luck, and thankfully I was lucky enough to be able to make it.
We do talk about that a lot on this show, mate, that especially now, that obviously guys like yourself, McGinn, McLean, Jason Naismith, guys like that as well,
Aye.
all getting flung into the deep end at that point. I mean, nowadays, nobody's getting that chance, eh? That, you look up and down the country, there's nobody getting that chance, and it's a shame, man, because I think it's, obviously we're getting to World Cups in Scotland and all that, but it's like, the future doesn't look great, man, if we're not actually producing these young guys anymore. One
thing I'm kind of disappointed about was when I was coming through, St Mirren were always known for bringing youth team players through. That was a big thing. They always promoted within. It was always like St Mirren and Hamilton would bring all these top players through. Like at that point, it was like you said there was Jason Naismith, there was Sean Kelly, there was me, McGinn, Ken McLean, Jack Baird, Lewis Morgan. We had so many players coming through the youth system. And I think I seen a stat recently where they brought out the homegrown, it was like the Premier League homegrown players from Celtic down to every club. And if I'm not mistaken, St Mirren was either second bottom or bottom of homegrown players used in the league this season. Which is kind of sad to see, do you know what I mean? Because they were always known for bringing all these good quality players through, and in recent times it's not really happened. So I'm just hoping that at some point they start trusting them and things. I think football's a lot different now. I would imagine that I think there is a lot more money in football, and St Mirren's definitely got a lot more money now than they did in the past. So they do have the financial gain of being able to go to England and attracting players up, and maybe stuff that they couldn't really do as much in the past. But that is to a detriment for the youth team players because then they get less of a chance. I think a prime example is the boy Fraser Taylor, who youth team player. He's probably the big player coming through just now for the youth team. Was getting a chance, gets put out to a Broth last season. I think he get player of the year, or maybe I don't know if he get definitely get player of the year at Broth. He might have actually got player of the season and for the championship, but now he's still on the bench and not really getting a chance again, which is a shame because he's a quality player. So yeah, I'm just hoping that St Mirren goes back to the days where they start giving these youth team boys a chance, and it just gives the boys coming through the youth team systems an egg to chase. Do you know what I mean? Just so that they know that there is going to be a chance when you eventually get to that top level.
He did have, was it Dylan Reid? He went to Crystal Palace, didn't he?
Aye, Dylan
And
done really well.
he hadn't actually played that many games.
Aye, he played 5 or 6 games. I was actually, fun enough, in Portugal with Dylan in the summer there, doing a thingy camp. My brother-in-law does his own one-to-one company, and he had a few boys out to Portugal. So there was me, Dylan Reid, who came through St Mirren. There was Ben Doak, Charlie MacArthur. What do you call it? The 4 of us doing a training camp. So I was a bit older than Dylan, so I didn't get to see him. But he's come through, played 5 games, and I had just turned 21. I was definitely ready to move. And I probably didn't expect the jump to be so big, to be fair. So
with Barnsley, were they championship at the time?
Aye, they were English champ. I would see. Aye, looking back, you're very naive. You're not realising how big a jump is from the Scottish champ to the English champ. Even the Scottish Prem to the English champ is a massive jump. But I was probably naive enough to think that I was going to go down there and start playing for the off, and I was nowhere near it. Fitness wise, I was up there. I was one of the fittest boys in the team, but I've always been known for like my fitness and the position that I played. But in terms of probably physicality, in terms of your strength and all that kind of things, I was miles away, and that's probably why I only played maybe 9 or 10 games when I was there. But going down there, it just showed you my confidence as when I was leaving St Mirren, expecting to go down and play, and then obviously not playing. That was the tough part about it. But I still love my time at Barnsley. It was like being able to say you're playing the English champ and that as well is a nice thing to be able to say. But aye, that was tough.
But you're saying you were naive, but is that not what you're meant to do? Because you're meant to believe in your ability in it to go and play anywhere you want.
Don't get me wrong, but you're going to go down and expect to play. I just wish maybe at the time where the manager would have pulled me at the start and said, look, you're not going to play straight away. This is going to be a bit of a project. We're going to start feeding you in. But I was disappointed in, like, from the game 1 not being in the squad. So, like, I remember the first game of the season. I played all the pre-season games. First game of the season, I was at that point. It was 18-man squads. I was a 19th man. So we went away to Bristol. I was told in the meeting that I wasn't on the bench. So straight away I'm fuming. That's never happened to me before. So I didn't even know how to take that. Like, my head was gone, honestly. And then for months and months after, it kept happening. I was always 19th man. I was left out of squads. I was travelling. I was getting made to run. And then I didn't make my debut until Boxing Day.
Right.
So that was a hard 6 months for me. That been not playing and then going back and playing 23s football with Barnsley. That was the tough part. There's moments during that, don't get me wrong, I wish I was probably more professional in what I was doing. That's obviously a bad part on my side of things. There was definitely things that I would have changed looking back, what would I have done. At that point, I was maybe like driving home too often because saying I was homesick, you were, but the whole point I've been doing there was to play football, to play on a Saturday, blah, 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 and that wasn't happening. So when the game was done on a Saturday, I would drive home, see my pals, see my missus and things like that. But I probably should have stayed down and trained a bit more. But it's just that naivety where you're just expecting to play. But it wasn't down to not working hard because I was running all the time. I was trying my best to get into the team and then eventually work my way into the team.
Who did you play with at Barnsley? Was there any players that's...
I've got a few decent names. Obviously, I was close with Liam Lindsay, who's played a lot at Preston now.
Aye,
There's
aye.
Ethan Pinnock who plays
Brentford.
for Brentford.
Aye.
There was Brad Potts, Gary Gardner, and then the strikers were Ollie McBurney, Kiefer Moore, Tom Bradshaw, and then we had Harvey Barnes, left wing. We had Adam Hamill playing, who was a big name in England at the time. Boyd Georgeman Cup. We had some big names in the team. Do you know what I mean? Like
Aye.
that's also why it was hard to get in the team.
Adam Hamill played for St Mirren, didn't he?
He scored a couple of worldies at St Mirren.
Aye.
Adam was very good. And then who's another one we had? Boy Ryan Hedges, who's at Blackburn just now. And Alex Mowat, who's at West Brom, who's played.
Aye.
Honestly, the team we had was very good.
He was a centre midfield as well, wasn't he?
Aye. But back then, I think the club had. You ever watched Moneyball?
No.
So the owner, like the movie Moneyball, is about the owner Billy Bean, who does everything off stats. So that was one of the first times that came into place. So we had a full new squad, all off of the stats. So it was all young players at the time who have all got good stats, and it was that first thing that this has been implemented in, especially the Championship. So it was just a lot of young players. Heckenbottom, it took me from from St Mirren to Barnsley, it was Heckenbottom, and then obviously it was Lenny that took me from Hibs from Barnsley, and then when Lenny got the sack, Heckenbottom took over at Hibs straight after it. So I ended up having him twice. But it was Lenny that took me to Hibs, and I love my time under Lenny, man.
Aye, because he had his firing, didn't he?
It's just that I thrive off that type of manager. I've said it on other podcasts and other things like that as well. People's always ask me who's been your favourite manager, but I feel like I do well under a manager who's got that fear factor. I feel like that's my big thing. Like, you get a lot of managers that are obviously really nice and try and get the best out of you, but with Lenny, it is just that fear factor. It's just like, if you don't play well, he's going through you. If it's no in training, it's a Saturday, do you know what I mean? Like, and there's no nice way about it. Like, he'll just tell you how it is. And I feel like I played better under that. It's probably the best footballer that I've played was that 6 months to a year, my first season at Hibs as well. Love my time at that point. I just wish I was able to play with him a lot more than what happened. Obviously, end up either getting sacked or whatever happened. What do you call it? But I just wish he was been able to stay the full season. I think I would have played a lot better as well towards the end of the season and maybe throughout my Hibs career. But Lenny was unbelievable.
Have we spoken about Barnsley much? Because I've got a couple of questions about Barnsley.
On you go, mate.
Just finished when you were.
We just finished.
I hope you've not asked this already, David, but did you notice a big difference, mate, when you've done to Barnsley football-wise?
That's what we're saying there. Like, I was probably naive enough to think that, not realising how big a jump it was, gone from the Scottish Championship to the English Championship, for like, it is a massive jump, but at the time I didn't think it was. And I went there thinking I'm going to play every week. And that was probably the first time in my career, because I didn't make my debut until Boxing Day. So I went like 5-6 months without playing first team football. Yeah, I was involved in the 23s football, but that was the first time where I was like 19th man in a squad. I was getting left out of squads. I was no travelling on a Saturday. So my head was a bit all over the place. Because I've just went for being like the top guy at St Mirren, leaving on a high, scoring goals every week and things like that, being loved, being in Paisley, everybody knows you, to then got to Barnsley and like nobody knows you. And you're not getting in the squads. And I'm like, what's going on? I was like, towards the end of that, before I started playing, I was champing the door saying, I want to go on loan, I want out of here. And funny enough, I was actually meant to go to Hibs in January on loan. But I started playing in December. So once I started playing, I went in and asked again, do you want me to go on loan? He says, no, because you're playing now. And then obviously I ended up coming back at the team. We get a new manager because Heckenbottom ended up leaving. So not realising how big a jump it was probably naivety in my own self, but just shows you the levels. Like, maybe technically I was at that level, but physically and speed work and all that stuff and your strength, I was probably nowhere near it.
How did you find the attitude towards yourself coming from Scotland? I mean, because obviously we spoke to Jason, who said that he didn't really feel any of that kind of, let's be honest, a lot of them will look they're doing their nose at Scottish football and stuff like that. But we also like Scott Fraser, who said he did experience that at like Burton. You know, some guys who are you're only for Scotland, like Nigel Clough, just basically say, you're just some fucking Scottish football player sort of thing. Did you experience any of that?
See, to be honest, probably no. Not at that point. Like I was saying previously, like we had a very young squad at Barnsley. Have you seen Moneyball? The movie. So see, it's about Billy Bean, the owner. So he ended up buying over Barnsley. So see all the stuff for the stats. That's how that year that I joined, we get basically a full brand new squad, all going off of all these stats. So like all the players we got were young players coming through who had decent stats and trying to obviously put them into a team. So like all the players that we had were young boys just wanting to play football. So the whole England-Scotland thing didn't really come into play. The usual rubbish with the questions like, where do you think Celtic and Rangers would finish in the Prem and all that kind of stuff would obviously happen. We obviously had, I remember one of the days we had Ollie McBurney in playing, and he came in the old firm days with his Rangers tap on with Cummins in the back and that as well, and then obviously Celtic going on and win, so I slaughtered him. I'm a Celtic fan, he was a Rangers fan, so he's a makeshift Rangers fan. Do you know what I mean? He's English, he's full English, but he says he's a Rangers fan. But he came in with his Rangers tapping that on as well. So I don't even think that they turned their nose down it, to be honest with you. But we were a very young squad. And then even when I went to Salford, it was the exact same. Boys would ask questions as well, like what's it like playing in Scotland, what's it like with the Celtic Rangers thing and the Hibs and Hearts and all that kind of stuff. Boys are a bit more intrigued about it rather than maybe turn their nose down.
What did you make of the Jamie O'Hara comments since we're talking about this?
What was it he said again?
They said that Stockport
would win the league.
Oh, right, yeah. No, fuck's sake. I've got first-hand experience. I've played Stockport. They're never winning the league at all. Do you know
I'm clipping that. This is the bit I'm clipping, by the way.
Aye, no, clip it. Obviously the Stockport team now is a bit different for the team that I played maybe 2-3 years ago, but they beat us in penalties in the playoff semis, and the fact that Salford took them to the playoff semis and get beat in penalties, they're never beating Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, Hibs, or anything like that. There's not a chance in there. So I need to disagree with that.
A penalty that penalty shootout, did you?
Sadly, no. I missed.
Did you miss that? Oh shit! Sorry.
Don't clap that.
No clap that, man. Sorry.
I was one of the boys that missed, but we missed 3 penalties that day, so it wasn't just me. So it wasn't too bad.
Obviously going to Hibs and that. You spoke about Lenny and stuff like that. Were you just delighted to get back up the road then, mate?
Aye. Just because I wasn't playing, I've thought about this in the past. Like, should have stayed down longer. Should have stayed in English football and things like that. Would have had more opportunities. Because don't get me wrong, like Scottish football was good, but there's a hell of a lot more money in England. Like that's why Scottish boys want to go down there. You'd get the same money in League 2 England as you do in the Scottish Prem. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is, with League 2 England, you've got a good chance of getting to League 1. You've got a good chance of getting to the Championship because you've got a lot more teams looking at you. So, for a financial point of view, that's why everybody wants to go. That's just it's sad to say, but at the end of the day, boys need to get paid, and the more money there is in England. But looking back, like I had a phone call with Lenny because him and my agent are friends. And Hibs had just got Europa League as well. We were in the qualifiers. So, 1, been on the phone to Lenny. And 2, knowing that Hibs were going to the Europa qualifiers. I was just chatting it a bit to go. Because he was telling me that I was getting like a 4-year deal. They wanted to kind of base the team around me and things like that. He was telling me how I wanted to play. But then it was about me trying to get out of Barnsley as well. Barnsley wanted to keep me. They had just got a new manager in, just being relegated to League 1. They were like, no, you're going to play every week. This is Barnsley saying this, like, you're going to play every week, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to score goals for us. And I'm like, we had like 7, 8 centre mids at a time, midfielders, and like nobody was leaving. Everybody was staying. So I'm on the phone to like the chief exec at Barnsley going, how am I going to play? I never played in the Championship. So how am I going to play in League 1 when you want to win the league? So I was like, look, I've got a chance to go to Hibs. So then it ended up going to the process of trying to figure out a transfer fee and stuff like that. And thankfully, Hibs paid the transfer fee that Barnsley were wanting. And then, went to Hibs. And like I said, previously, that first season at Hibs was probably the best I've played in my career.
Then you moved to Turkey, mate. How did that move come about?
Funny enough, you'll never believe this. Instagram.
Uh-huh.
Aye, so MD that Disney answered their Instagram DMs, they should start. So obviously I'd been at Hibs for a few years and stuff like that. Then towards the end, I wasn't really playing under Jack Ross at the time, and I was playing in like the Betfred Cup and things like that, but not really getting on in the league. So I was actually talking to Salford at that point to go in January, and it was really close to happening. But then I think I was to give them a decision by Monday morning, and on the Friday they get like two freak injuries in training, and they signed 2 boys on loan by the Friday evening. So that meant that the deal for me was going to be left to the side. So I was a bit disappointed with that because I was getting wrapped my head around about going down to England and playing for Salford at the time. And then I think it was on the Sunday night or something, I was going through I got a couple of DMs when you get a message request on Instagram, and it was 2 Turkish guys sending me the exact same message. That was a bit strange. So I messaged one of them. I was like, they're basically like, "Oh, we have a proposal for you in Turkey, blah blah blah." And I messaged them back. I was like, "Look, I've got an agent, so I can't really work with you." And they says that's fine. What's your agent's number? So I text my agent. I was like, "Look, what will I do with this?" He's like, "Just send them a number, and it happens." So I sent him my agent's number. Then within, I'd say 10 days, I was in Turkey. That was mental. Aye, mental.
Was it a, did you really want to go and do that? Did you want to go abroad somewhere else, try something new?
I not. Don't get me wrong. I would have wished it was more UK based, probably. But then we were just coming out of COVID. Nobody was at work yet. It was only me and my missus in the house. Yeah, we had our dogs. We've still got our dogs, and things like that. So we couldn't really do much. So if it was going to be one opportunity to do that, it was going to be then. And obviously we kind of negotiated like a loan fee and things like that. So like obviously the same as that, and money comes into it, and it looks brilliant and things like that. So you had to weigh up a lot of things. Plus, it was only to the end of the season at the time, and I spoke to Jack Ross at the time as well, and he was like, "Look, right now you're not in my plans." He said you could work your way into the plans, or you might not work in your way in, but you've got an opportunity to go to Turkey and play for the next 4 or 5 months, because it was for the end of January to like the start of May. So it works out about 3.5, 4 months, and it was Super League Turkey. So like one of the the second or third game we were at home to Besiktas. So I'm like, I'm not getting on I'm on the bench here away to Motherwell, no getting on the pitch, or I could be potentially going to Besiktas to play. And I was like, why don't I? So obviously sat down with my missus and discussed what we could do and things like that. And she was working from home anyway, so I managed to get across, and especially the loan part, I loved it.
See, I'll always say that on here and on, man. How I admire the young Scottish guys going out there and doing stuff like that, because it'd be so simple, mate, for you just to sit on that bench. It would have just been easy for you to just go, you know what, I'll just pick my money up. But obviously, guys like yourself, you want to play in that. So, how did you find actually playing in that different environment, though?
See if it wasn't so far away, I'd still be playing in Turkey. I loved the football there. Genuinely loved it. I think it was more me, probably I'd say Scottish football is very ferocious. It's very athletic. It's very demanding. Don't get me wrong, Turkey is like that, but it's definitely a lot. The pace is slower, but the technical ability is higher. That's the only way I could describe it, especially Super League. I'd say the quality of players obviously is very, very high. The players that they get over now, I'd definitely say the league is better now than when I was there. The players they've got now is unbelievable. The boys that they can get across there. But I just loved the football. I loved the players that I came up against, all the different nationalities. Like hardly anybody spoke English. Do you know what I mean? So that was a barrier that you had to get over. I loved the fact that we had to fly to every away game because Turkey's that big. Every home game you stayed at your training facility, but every away game you had to fly like either a day before or 2 days before. Going to all these big stadiums that I would never have got the chance to go to, like playing away to Galatasaray, Besiktas, Trabzonspor, Fenerbahce, all these clubs. It was phenomenal. That's what I loved about it. And obviously the way we played football as well. It wasn't as demanding as Scottish football, but the technical aspect was obviously a lot higher. So that's one thing it would attract. It would have attracted me to go back, but I did eventually go back permanently, and then it didn't go so great. So,
So you would say that to other players then if they've got the opportunity to go for it?
100%. Like you said, you've only got so many years in football. It's the old cliche, like your career only lasts so long, and you have to make memories and do what's right for you and your family in that moment. And it's the big thing is the financial aspect. If it's financially feasible for you to go and you're going to earn money for you and your family, then go and do it. Like, you don't want, like, most people 9 out of 10 times they're going to come back to Scotland and retire in Scotland and live the rest of their days in Scotland. So why not, when you're young enough and able enough to go and have these opportunities abroad and enjoy yourself, known fact that you most likely you're going to come back. If you might find folk that go out there and love it that much, they might stay, but having these opportunities to go outside your country and playing a different league, potentially getting to other leagues because you've been abroad and things, like more clubs might look at you and things, and just having all these different experiences in your life, it's something that I would definitely recommend for boys to do, young boys as well, just to go and have these opportunities abroad because it might work.
But only go on loan, don't sign permanently.
I don't go permanently. Like,
But
if you go permanently, demand half your money up front first. Jesus Christ.
But obviously, loads of people are thinking that way these days because you're looking at Italy, you know what I mean? You look at young Aaron Hickey, man, he went out at 17, I think he was, wasn't he? And all the right guys now, but that's definitely, 100%. I think it should be done, I think.
Well, like you said, the big one now, obviously, is the boys that went to Italy and kicked on. You'll have boys that obviously, I've got Lewis Morgan who's in the MLS just now, and he's flying and earning very good money and doing brilliant with Red Bulls. And then obviously you've got all the Scottish boys that are in Italy and they're all loving life. That's one thing I've spoke to my wife about that as well. Like, the city that I was in wasn't great in Turkey. That's the one thing that would put me off going back there, was the city was very eastern. There wasn't much to do. You don't get any pubs. You don't get any like nice shopping or anything like that. You had to have to fly to go and do that. You need to either fly to Antalya or Istanbul to go and do that. So the city that I was in wasn't great. Whereas these boys that are going to Italy, they're going to a culture which is easily to settle into. So that's one thing.
Sorry. What? I was just going to say, what we're wanting here is somebody to invest heavily in like Marmaris FC or something, innit? That's what we're doing.
Honestly, see, even like going to Eastmere, there's a team called Gustepe who's in Eastmere, and that's where you go on holiday. It's stunning. Or even I used to think about, I was like, hopefully I could play 6 months and did really well and get a move to Antalya Sport. Because everybody goes to Antalya on holiday, and I like my golf, so that'd have been ideal for me. But they were a different level from the team that I was at, sadly. But I would love to go abroad again.
My girlfriend's mum's got a flat in Turkey. Is it Didim? Something like that.
I have no idea. Turkey's massive.
Aye, mate, it's massive.
It's a big country.
I would reckon. I've said that to a few boys. If you're at a decent club in Turkey who you know you're going to get your wages and all that, I would go back and play it because the standard of football is phenomenal.
So you go there, mate. You obviously wasn't the best of cities, but it's sun, sea, sand, and that, and then you actually do go to Salford. How did that move come about then? Did it was just very last time?
I think so. I think what helps is that what's his role at the club? One of the he's not like a head scout, but he's like got a big say in recruit. He's like one of the top recruitment guys. Is Scottish guy called Ross Duncan. He's for Aberdeen, but he obviously looks a hell of a lot at the Scottish market. I think he was trying to get me on loan the year before or 2 years before, and then obviously I left Turkey because of unpaid wages and things like that in February, and I ended up getting an operation when I was over there as well. So once I got my operation, I basically just flew home and never went back. So because they were trying to get me to pay for my operation, and obviously I wasn't having it, and so I eventually got the operation sorted, flew home, just left my stuff there, never went back, and then got myself fit from the February to the end of the season. And then obviously went on holiday, had quite a few holidays booked with my missus and stuff like that. So went and done all that. And then was on the phone call to a few teams, and then Salford popped up, and it was like it's the same. It was just a different opportunity. It was just an opportunity to play in England again, albeit it was a League Two level, but League Two is still hard. League Two, League One, there's no much difference between the both of them. Anybody can come up and down. You've seen that with like Plymouth, who won League Two, won League One, straight to champ. You've seen it from Carlisle get promoted to League One. Now they're in National League within 2 years. Like there's that many. It can go up and down. So I had the opportunity to go there. The manager just came in from Man United under 23s, so he was a really ball playing manager who had a certain way of playing, and I loved it. Loved my time at Salford. I ended up getting a bad injury at the very start. One of the pre-season games, which absolutely killed me. That's the only way I could sum up my time at Salford. Is amazing memories, but just daft, stupid injuries.
Can I speak about Salford, mate, without talking about Gary Neville? Did you have any dealings with him?
Funny enough, the full 2 years I was there, I think I might have met him twice. He at that point he started taking a step back from Salford. I think previous years he had too much of an input, and I think that kind of hindered the club for what he said anyway. But when I got there, he took a step back. But Nicky Butt, Ryan Giggs, and Paul Scholes had more of a say in the club. So you would see maybe Paul Scholes every one or 2 weeks. You would see like Ryan Giggs towards the end anyway. You'd see him every day, and then same with Nicky Butt, maybe every 2-3 days. So even seeing those guys was phenomenal. But Gary ended up going into the whole other side of stuff. He was doing his overlap stuff, the Sky football stuff, and that. So you hardly really seen him. But those three that I said, you can have seen them all the time.
What kind of club is Salford? Are they passionate and all that? Is there quite a lot of fans there?
There's not that many. Their nickname's the Armies, right? So the Armies is for the amateurs. So obviously they've always been an amateur club until the class of 92 took over, and then same as then pumped money into it, and then got them up the leagues. So I think there was a big plan for them to get a new stadium. There's a stadium next to Salford called the Salford Stadium's tiny, really small, on a slant and everything. Like the stadium isn't great, but it's an amateur stadium. So there's a stadium called the AJ Bell that's quite close, so it just say it holds like maybe like 18,000. But I don't think the fans wanted to go there because they still want it to be feel like that type of club, like an amateur club that's doing well in League Two, try to get to League One. I think that's what kind of holds the club back a little bit. But that's just the way it was there. I feel like the fans need to. It's hard when you're in Salford, you're in Manchester, you've got Man U, Man City. So trying to get both like fans in Manchester to then like Salford is difficult. Do you know what I mean? So the fan base is decent enough. They've maybe give me like 2,000 or 3,000 at games or something like that. But
you're not going to attract the blue side if they're all run by Man United players.
You're not.
Do you know what I mean? So.
No, you're not. That was a big thing. I think they've eventually. So I think what happened recently was, I think Salford has always been known for being an orange strip, and then when the Man U boys took over, they changed everything to red. Obviously, that's the thing. So I don't think the fans took that pretty well. So I've just seen a thing the past few weeks that they're finally moving back to orange. So for the past 7-8 years, they've always been a red strip, just basically like a carbon copy of Man U, but now they're going back to their orange side, and all the fans are happy again. So I think they're starting to keep in touch now with the fans and things like that. So I think there's been a bit of a change at Salford.
So you were there a couple of years, mate, and then you've came back up the road this year, playing for St Johnstone at the moment. I know you've had your injury problems, mate, but I think you've just been back in the team recently, flying high at the top of that league, man. How are you finding your time there at the moment?
Loving it. Like you said there with the injuries and stuff. I was out of football for a full season, which was tough. So, mentally tough, physically tough. Try to get back fully fit, and then I was thinking about retiring and things like that as well. Like everything was going through my head. So, eventually got myself fit, and then I had the chance to go to St Johnstone. It was Gus McPherson that gave me the call. He's obviously worked at St Mirren previously, so knows who I am. Aye, and then obviously got to work with the manager that we have now. And a big thing in football, I say that all the time with players, is the way you play as a player is having a manager who likes the way you play and likes you as a player and sees you fit in the team. I feel like that's what I've got now with the manager that we have. He loves to play football. He's definitely changed a lot from what I've heard. He's definitely changed a lot from what he done last season to this season. Obviously, last season, St Johnstone are just trying to pick up results any way possible, trying to stay up, and sadly, they never managed to stay up. So I think this season, especially the Championship, he's managed to get good players in who fit his style of play, and we're doing really well. We're gelling really well. We're really taking on what he's saying, and it's the way I want to play football as well, like playing for the back, creating just a lot of emphasis on attacking, and you've seen that in the results. We're one of the top highest goal scored teams in the league, if not the most, and one of the least conceded as well. So just shows you how we were doing. Sadly, I got a tackle against Morton, which is obviously out of my control. Picked up a bad injury, and thankfully I'm finally back again. So I'm back kind of firing, hopefully help the team.
I'm glad you're back. I don't think sorry, Stevie, on you.
How's Josh McPake as a player? Is he some player?
He's quality. Well, he's won back-to-back Player of the Months in the Championship, so I think that kind of sums it up. I travel with him, which is I've got the privilege of travelling with him through, because we're obviously, there's a few boys for Paisley in Glasgow, so you're travelling to Perth every day, so which is good. That's the best time to have a car school, because driving to Perth every day is a nightmare. An absolute nightmare. So we'll all meet at Top Golf and travel through, and he's in the car school. So, but Josh, I heard stuff from him in the past when he was younger and things like that, doing well coming through Rangers, but being able to see him in this scenario, and I think he's kicked on a lot more now that this team's a lot more attacking as well, and we're playing a formation that suits him to a T. Honestly, he's one of the best 1v1 wingers that I've seen in the flesh anyway. The amount of right backs in this league he's torn apart is honestly, it's mental. Like, he's just kicked on so well, but he works hard at it. And it shows in his goals and things like that as well. The types of goals that he scored and stuff, like it's just it seems like he's got that confidence going into every Saturday thinking we're going to win, and one of the main parts of why we're doing so well this season is definitely because of Josh.
Right, because I thought he'd have played more at Rangers when he was coming through, but it didn't happen. He kept getting sent out on loan.
I didn't realise how many clubs in England he actually went on loan to as well. Especially at a young age. But it's the same as any club. If you're at a top 2, top 4 club, it's even harder for youth team players to get through in it, especially at Celtic and Rangers. Unless you're exceptional, no many players come through.
Well, you're exceptional, you're getting picked up and you're not playing it, because you're going to England.
Exactly. So, but we're just glad to obviously have Josh, and he's done well. And hopefully we can keep him at the end of the season. That's obviously a big part as well, but he'll have a massive say if we get promoted or not as well.
I just want to say, like, obviously, going back to talking about your injuries for a wee second, it's like, I've been a football fan my whole life, right? And obviously, we've just been doing this podcast for about a year now. And I've got to say, Stevie, right, every single person that we spoke to through, there's at least one story in their career where they had like such a big setback in injuries, or whether it's, clubs, or manager no fancying you or whatever, do you know what I mean? So, I was even looking at like Kieran Tierney interview before this for last night, and or it might have been the day, and he was talking about how that goal he scored, and he had a half an hour yesterday to himself he was getting quite emotional on that because he was thinking about all his injuries and everything he'd been through and all this, and so I'm glad that you never chucked it, mate, and that you're back up here and that you keep plugging away, man, because you're only 29, man. You've still got a good few years ahead.
No, I know. Like, see when you said that with the emotional side, like, obviously there's different levels to it, but Tierney, the goal he scores is phenomenal, and it brings back, like, my one was the first league game of the season. We played, obviously, the first game of the game was against Partick, and we won 5-1, and I scored a free kick in the last kind of 5-10 minutes, and I was basically crying in the park because I didn't expect to. I was already buzzing as it was after the year that I had. I was out for 18 months, but the 6 months that I was at a football club, and then I was without a football club for a full year. But just because everything I had been through to then eventually being able to play like a professional game in the league was like such a good feeling as it was, and then to eventually score with having like my wife, my daughter there, my family there, and things like that, and everybody watching it because they had all seen what I had been through to get to that moment just to play that game. Because like I said, there was talk of me being like, I might need to find a job, I might need to do something to bring in money and things like that because I wasn't getting anywhere in my injury. So yeah, I can totally agree with what he's saying and things like that in terms of that whole, it's just a relief. It's just like everything eventually coming out. Do you know what I mean? Everything you've probably built up and stored away in the back of your head to be like, I'm finally here. This is what all the hard work's worked to, this moment of scoring a goal or eventually playing in front of your family and having them see all the stuff that you've been through to eventually get to the moment you are right now. So that feeling that's everything you work to, because there's days when you're in the gym, or there's days where you don't even want to go to the gym, but you're like, I need to do it because eventually it will work. And it's all those hard times that eventually get to where you are now. And thankfully, I'm still playing because, like you said, I'm still relatively young enough to get a few years left in me. So hopefully I do.
Definitely. Do you think that football as a whole does enough to support guys who are injured, especially if it's long term?
It's a kind of hard question because I was thankfully lucky enough. No many Scottish guys will know this, right? I was lucky enough to have played in England, and once you've played in England, you're part of the English PFA, and they definitely help you a lot more than the Scottish PFA. But that's the only reason because of that is the funding's a lot better. So like, once you're part of the English PFA and you're without a club, or even when you've retired, you've got up to £12,000 to use at your disposal for, say, scans, operations, things like that you don't get with the Scottish PFA, which is quite hard. That's why I think it's harder for Scottish guys. So like that year that I was injured, I got like maybe four scans paid for by the English PFA. I had maybe like 3 injections, and then eventually they paid for half of my operation that I eventually got. If it wasn't for them, I'd have been knackered, genuinely. I phoned up the Scottish PFA, and don't get me wrong, like I'm not talking bad about the Scottish PFA because they've helped me out with other things. They've helped me out with my Turkey side of things and my money, and they eventually helped me out getting me in to see a physio at Hampden and things like that. So it's just that Scotland doesn't have the funding to be able to have this for their players that get injured. So, because even I'm sure one of the stories was that John Hartson went back to the English PFA when he was like 45 and get like a knee replacement paid for. That just shows you the money in England, do you know what I mean? So having that at your disposal helped me massively. And then eventually I went down to St George's Park for like a training week, working with the physios at St George's Park as well, paid for as well, do you know what I mean? So that's why I'm saying to boys, go down and try England and things like that, because there is a lot more positives as well. So that definitely helps. That's one thing I would wish the Scottish PFA could do, because the amount of boys that get injured and things that potentially couldn't afford that, or are without a club and are struggling and don't know what to do. But it's the same as it comes with money. Scottish football needs more money to be able to bring this into the game.
Without a doubt, mate. Without a doubt. Steve, we've only got a couple more questions to ask you, mate, and then we'll let you go.
Nice.
The first question I ask you is, obviously, like we say, hopefully you'll still get many years ahead of you in football, mate, playing that is. What's your plans going forward after that? Do you see yourself being a coach, or I think you could be quite decent in the media, mate, if you fancy that kind of
thing? Fun enough you said this. I was talking to this about an hour just before I came on. We get sent through a thing on WhatsApp for the team chat that like the UEFA C and B license have come out and they're going to start in December. So I was actually talking about maybe jumping on the license just to get that under my belt. It's the same. It happens all the time. You get to late 20s and then all the footballers start jumping on the licenses just to have something qualifications wise. Whether I see that as a career, I don't know. The year that I took out of football there, saying took out as if I chose to do it. I never chose to do it, just had to. But I ended up working, my brother-in-law does a one-to-one company called Empire School of Football. So I ended up doing a bit of coaching with them. It was a bit of cash as well for me to help pay my bills and things like that as well. But it was the first thing I've actually got into coaching, and I actually loved the 1-to-1 side of things. I don't know if I've not tried it per se, but the team side of things, I'm not too sure. But I really love the 1-to-1 side of things because you get to work with a player. I work with players for a full year and being able to see them from the start to the end of the year and everything that I've been working on and things. It was nice to see. Working with boys and girls of all ages from 5 years old to 20 years old. So being able to pick up little things and help them tweak things as well to go and take to their team trainings was a good feeling. So I really enjoyed that. So whether that was one thing that I looked to do was maybe start my own company and that side of things, but there's that many companies now, is it worth doing? And then the media side of things as well, like you said, I do like, I can talk. If you give me a coffee, I'll talk for hours. I can talk about football to the end of the day. Like I do enjoy that as well. So I don't know. The media side of things I like the look of as well. But it's something that in the next kind of year or so, I'll definitely need to kind of hit the nail on the head and have some sort of path for eventually leaving football.
Definitely, man. Brilliant. Right, mate, last couple of questions. I don't know if you've seen this at the end of the show. We usually do with players and that. So I'm just going to ask you, mate, do you know the top 3 players you played alongside the most? Appearance-wise?
Appearance-wise? Do you know this, aye?
I say this every time, mate. I can't believe football players don't. It's on transfer market.
Top 3 players I've played with the most? I will need to say Jack Baird.
Yep, he's number 1. 84 times alongside Jack.
Jesus. He's part of the car school now as well. I'll need to tell him that tomorrow. Jack Baird. Only because he's come back facing. Is there any Hibs boys on it?
Aye.
Right. Martin Boyle.
No, he is 9th, 57 times with him.
If I played with... all right, Paul Hanlon.
Yep, he's 2nd, 79 games.
And then if it's Paul, then we'll probably need to be Louis Stevenson.
He's 4th, 74 games. And there's one you played 76, who's 3rd.
Is he a Hibs player?
No.
76. Can't be Lewis Morgan.
That is, aye. Lewis Morgan.
Is it Morgan, aye?
Aye, 76 games, mate.
Wow.
So Jack Baird, Paul Hanlon, Lewis Morgan. Then you get Lewis Stevenson, Jason Naismith.
Amazing.
Kimberry, remember him? He was a good player, man.
Flo's up there as well.
Aye. Horgan, Irvin, Martin Boyle, and Porteous, 10. That's the 10.
Oh well, that's a decent fee actually, aye.
It is, mate. So, like, I'm looking at all these players, right, and I think this is going to be a really difficult question for you. But you've probably been asked it before, but I'm really intrigued to hear.
Right.
You're the coach of all the players you've ever played alongside. Who's your 5-a-side team?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Were they a goalie?
You don't need one.
You don't need, no. Just the best 5 players you've played alongside.
Right. I wouldn't see. That's the thing. Like, I've played with players a long time, but then if I look at the team, I know I hardly played at Barnsley, but the players we had were like they've had an unbelievable career. Right. I'll need defenders wise. I'll need to see Ethan Pinnock, defender, because he's done so well in the Prem.
Brentford, right?
Brentford, aye.
Yeah.
So I'll do 5 outfielders, man. Goalies, nah, not doing a goalie. So Ethan Pinnock, I'll go John McGinn. I need to go John. Jesus. That's it, Kenny. I'll need to say Kenny as well, probably. Since his goal last night, I'll need to say Kenny. So I'll go Ethan Pinnock, John, Kenny. I've only played a couple of games with him, but I'll say Harvey Barnes. I need to, because he's flying for Newcastle. And he's the potential he could be involved in Scotland or not. So I'll say Harvey. And I'll need to go a striker. I'll leave the I was going to say Keith Hammer, but I'll chuck in. I'll put in Boyley. I'll make him happy. I'll say Boyley. Boyley was phenomenal. But then
he's got a pace, isn't he, man? He's just running by everybody.
But he's got everything else now.
What?
You thought about somebody else now, didn't you?
No, I
you were
did.
going
I
to
was
say
going to
something,
give my
weren't
mate Elliot Watt a shout because he's flying this year, but
Elliot, what is that? Him? It's Motherwell.
aye, he's one of my close pals now. We played together at Salford, so it was like me, Elliot, and Callum Hendry that got really close, and they tour at Motherwell now. So, but Elliot's flying this year. He's another one that I've spoken about trying to get in the Scotland squad and that as well, and I would have him in it the way they play. But I'm just thinking about all these players that I've played with. I would maybe change, but I'll go with that 5 now. I'll go with it.
That's a good team, mate. I'm happy with that. I think that's a bit fair, to be honest.
Can't be telling Jack Baird that you've played the mace with him and then
I know. He's going to kill me. He's going to kill me.
Stevie,
no put
thank
your
you very
team.
much, mate. Honestly, it's been brilliant talking to you, man, hearing all about your career and that. Like I said at the very start, we are big fans, and I hope that going forward, mate, you get in that St Johnstone team, start flying again. Never know, mate, might make the World Cup.
We're clutching at straws. We must be clutching at straws. I'll never know. We'll never know.
Never know,
No,
mate.
we've not got a free kick taker.
Nah,
Right, everybody.
is retired, isn't he? So, nah,
Yeah, mate.
Cheers, man. Thank you, mate. See you later.
Cheers, guys. Thank you. Cheers.
Bye, mate.
See you later.